Can I just say one thing firstly? I love the name Eat, Sleep, Boxing, Repeat.
Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel in partnership with sharpbetting.co.uk, your home of betting tips and analysis on a wide range of sports, including boxing, of course, which is why we are here. Saturday, 29th of March, we are in preview mode, Elliot. Golden Boy show in Cancun, Mexico. Interim world lightweight title action between William Zepeda and Tevin Farmer. This is, of course, a rematch as well. Elliot, we will come on to our predictions as we usually do at the end of the video, so please do stay tuned right until the end when we give our predictions. But we do, as always, like to talk a little bit about some maybe pressing topics surrounding fights. And with this being a lightweight title fight, mate, the interim WBC title, kind of begs the question to me when you look at the lightweight landscape. How does William Zepeda, who I think, he won the first fight with Tevin Farmer, he's seen as the A side here, the undefeated fighter. How does William Zepeda, in your mind, fare against the likes of SHAKUR Stevenson and Gervonta Davis?
Lovely question. Thank you very much, Paul. As always, thank you very much for having me. I think, look, before the recent Tank Roach fight, we probably sit here and say both guys handle Zepeda, frankly. But I think at the moment, there's a big question marks after that performance, frankly. And there's obviously been talk about, Tank's motivation outside the gym and his general confidence. So I saw like Isai Smith posting a lot about that as well. And you kind of feel like he needs to maybe rematch that fight and come out convincingly for me before we sort of talk about this. I'd actually maybe think, Zepeda, we've seen sort of Mexican guys come over to UK. We've seen them kind of go almost sort of beyond the radar in certain cases, then all of a sudden explode onto the sort of championship stage. So to be honest, I see that as possibly a tough fight for Tank. I really do. I think, Tank has already been said he's looking to maybe avoid some of the big names around that division. And Zepeda, I think, would give him a real challenge. So for me, I actually make that a much closer fight than I had before the Tank Roach fight. I still think SHAKUR, frankly, handles him quite convincingly. I think Stevenson's like a special fighter. We've said that many times before, and I feel like he's not really been tested yet, really, properly. I feel like he's got different levels he can go to as well. So I think, obviously Zepeda would be a tough opponent. Like a decent, obviously carries power, 27 KOs and 32 wins. But I feel like that's a Stevenson UD for me all over the place. How about yourself in those two fights?
Yeah, interesting, mate. Interesting. I think, asking this question before both of their last fights, Tank and SHAKUR, you probably would have said both beat Zepeda convincingly enough. But with Stevenson maybe taking a little longer to get rid of Josh Padley than he perhaps should have done, and obviously Gervonta Davis, that whole what went down against Lamont Roach. Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of changed maybe people's opinions potentially. Um, I agree with you. SHAKUR Stevenson, he beats Zepeda on points, doesn't he? Let's be honest. Probably a wide points decision. I think say that against most fighters SHAKUR Stevenson's facing. And with Tank, like, was that just an off night? Like, because I would have bet my bottom dollar on Tank Davis knocking out William Zepeda probably. And that's no disrespect to William Zepeda. He's a great fighter in his own right. But I think there was maybe showed a few chinks in the armor in the first fight there against Tevin Farmer. He was, of course, knocked down by Farmer, who only has 8 stoppages in his 33 wins. 8 stoppages out of what, 40 fights it was or something going into that Zepeda fight. So he's not a puncher, but he did have Zepeda down. You can't say maybe it was a flash knockdown or whatever, but he still had him on the canvas at one stage. And yeah, Tevin Farmer was a former world champion and so on and so forth, but that was a downweight division, and Zepeda just about kind of scraped by him by the skin of his teeth. So yeah, interesting for me, mate. I'm still backing Stevenson and Tank to beat Zepeda, but I might change my mind depending on how Zepeda would looks here in the rematch with Tevin Farmer. That kind of following up to that, mate. Do you believe Zepeda wins a world title? Kind of two parts to that question. Do you think he wins a world title at lightweight, or if no, could he win it maybe at a different weight class? How do you see the rest of his career playing out?
I think it's a tough one because obviously you've got the champions down there. You've got Keyshawn Davis, obviously Tank Zepeda, as we talked about. I think for me, I think he can. I think he obviously Loma's down there as well. I think he can, but it would almost need a bit of sensitive management. I feel like Keyshawn Davis obviously young, very impressive performance last time out. It feels like he would maybe hold down a belt for quite some time, unless he wants to obviously move up as well and vacate. Loma's the one for me that's interesting. I feel like Loma's obviously not got that long left, so at some point is either gonna possibly vacate, possibly retire, that belt will become available. I feel like we already mentioned Stevenson, Stevenson will beat him, but at the same time, will Stevenson want to move up? Does he want to sort of go through the weight divisions at the same time? That, how far does he want to go when it comes to a belt? Tank again, question mark. So for me, I think actually at 28 years old, I think Zepeda can. He actually can win a world title, but it would need some kind of careful matchmaking. I feel like he's arguably the best fighter outside of those sort of world champions at division. Again, kind of needs a bit of a standout, probably victory on his record as well. Kind of right the wrongs of what are the wrongs, obviously one, but kind of right the kind of question marks that came from that Tevin Farmer performance. But you look down at the other names in the division, like Saparenchik and those guys, and sort of Martin. I feel that Zepeda beat those guys. So I feel, if he gets a chance at maybe a vacant, fights for that. Maybe if Loma moves on and one of the other guys moves up, I feel absolutely he's got it within his remit to become a world champion. It feels like in this channel, on this thing, we often go the other way. We always seem to be saying that people can't become world champions. So it's nice for us to sit here now and say that someone I think can become world champion. What about yourself?
Yeah, mate, I actually completely agree. I think, I wouldn't maybe necessarily back him right now against any of the champions. But as you said, we've seen, I keep on saying it, I feel like I've said it quite a lot. I've seen far worse fighters than William Zepeda win world titles. Far, far worse. I think he's the talent to do it. It's just kind of, does it work out for him? And, does he get the right fight for, as you said, a vacant title? Does he fight one of the champions maybe on an off night? Does he put in a career best performance and need a Shakur Stevenson or a Tank Davis? Who knows? But yeah, I definitely think that he can win a world title, mate. Yeah, same as you, kind of gun to my head. Yes, I'm going to say William Zepeda will become world lightweight champion. Not so sure about if he was to move through the weights or whatever. I suppose he's not a small guy. He's definitely not small. He could maybe go up to a super lightweight. Could he win one there? Potentially. But I'll say lightweight, yeah, he does win one. But yeah, before we round off, mate, as always, we like to give our predictions on the fight. How do you see this rematch playing out between William Zepeda and Tevin Farmer? As I said, Zepeda won the first one via split decision in November in Riyadh. Was knocked down in the fourth, but how does this rematch go?
It's a tricky one for me because I look at it and I go like, without that, obviously that first match, you're probably going back Zepeda quite convincingly to beat Tevin Farmer. Like Tevin Farmer's kind of career has been a kind of strange one. Had a couple of marquee victories, but it's kind of lost to the better guys. That he's kind of come up against that level. So I kind of anticipate him to lose here. You're looking at a record of a guy with 7 losses. And obviously has been stopped as well. We were talking about previously, weren't we, about the sort of power of Zepeda as well. So you sit there and go, well, actually, maybe he may sort of get him. But I actually think I'm backing Zepeda again, to be honest. I am backing Zepeda, but I think by more convincing fashion. And I know that Tevin Farmer's obviously quite awkward. He's shown that he's got the nous to get to the end. So for me, will Zepeda be able to stop him? Debatable, but I think he might actually. I think I'm going to go for sort of last quarter of the fight, probably stoppage for me for Zepeda, but I think it'd be much more convincing than it was the first time around.
Interesting. Yeah, that was kind of the question in my head. I agree with you. I believe Zepeda, did he overlook Tevin Farmer perhaps? We don't know. We don't know. Did Tevin Farmer, to give him his credit, Tevin Farmer was brilliant on that night, still didn't get the job done. I question whether he can put in a similar performance in again. I think Zepeda can go up that level, whereas I don't know at this stage can Tevin Farmer go up another level. I believe Zepeda wins. The question for me is whether it can get the stoppage as well. I'll say no again. I'm going to go decision, but as you said, I think it'll be a lot wider. There'll be no questions over who wins. It'll be a unanimous decision in favour of William Zepeda rather than a split. That's how I see it, mate. But yeah, guys, let us know in the comments your thoughts. As always, please do like this video, subscribe to the channel, all of your boxing needs under one roof. And Elliot, thanks very much for joining me. I speak to you again very soon.
Thank you very much, Paul. As always, guys, thank you very much for watching.